long video again, so if you're just here for the results, you can skip ahead using timestamps or chapters. So first, I want to talk about some theory, or actually why theory doesn't work. So Wiki has a nice page, or pages with lists of all the equipment, and in particular, list of fighters has all the fighters, and you can sort by anti-air DPS, anti-air burst, and then it explains burst versus DPS up here. So for DPS, I believe it's this formula. So it basically, this formula assumes that your airplane is always having a valid target to shoot at. So it includes the speed of the airplane somewhere here, attack run duration. So slower planes stay on the screen for longer, which means that they can shoot more times. And then the rest is just a basic DPS calculation, assuming that there's always an enemy plane to shoot at. But that doesn't work in chapter 15 or in any map in the game actually, because here, I hope you like paint because I do. So let's say you've got flapjacks and you've got fok wolves. They have different speed and also different reload times. So they're not going to be launching at the same time every time like this. So like let's say at this moment in time the flapjacks have launched earlier, so they're ahead, and then there are enemy planes on the screen, so they get to shoot, right? But let's say that like there are no, or let's say that enemy airplanes are like all the way up here, and then the flapjacks are wait, let me just draw a line here. So like let's say this is the playing screen and the flagship is over here. So if there are enemy planes coming in and then the flapjack launches while the fok wolves are still on reload, they're on cooldown, so they don't get to launch right now. So the flapjacks shoot the enemy airplanes, and then they go ahead, and enemy airplanes come closer, and then they hit the main fleet, and then the fok wolves go off cooldown and then launch. So basically, because the fok wolves have different reload time than the flapjack, they get to shoot at different enemy planes. So like for example, maybe another airplane squad comes in, so this time both of these flapjacks and fok wolves get to shoot this squad. And sometimes there aren't even any planes on the screen, and then these airplanes just fly and then do nothing. Let me talk about another case. So if, let's say there are these enemy anti-airships, and these anti-airships they have a range, so like a range somewhere. I don't know how big that range is, but every half second it chooses some of your planes to delete, like completely delete. It doesn't actually deal damage to your planes, it just deletes them. So if your flapjack is launching ahead of your fok wolves, let me make the plane screen bigger, or just remove it entirely. So fok wolf and flapjack are launching, and let's say that your actual carrier in the service fleet has also launched an airstrike. So these fighters are from the supporting carriers, and they only do interception. They only shoot enemy airplanes. They don't drop payloads. While this airstrike is from the surface fleet, and it includes both AA guns and bombs and torpedoes. So like, let's say that they're positioned like this. So basically, the flapjacks enter the range of the enemy anti-airships first, and then like they get deleted randomly. 2 of them get deleted. And then these planes move forward. And these anti-airships have a reload of 0.5 seconds. So that 0.5 seconds let all of your airplanes move forward a bit, and then maybe your airstrike is able to drop the torpedoes and drop the bombs now, and then they get deleted, like that. So basically, they're able to drop bombs and payloads and torpedoes before they get deleted. Well, if you only had like Focke-Wulfs here, these are just for example purposes. It's not necessarily Focke-Wulf or flapjack, and not necessarily with this timing. But if this comes in, then these anti-airships will delete some planes like this. Delete, delete. And then those planes got deleted before they could drop their bombs or drop their torpedoes. So basically you deal less damage here, in this case, to the enemy surface ships, because your supporting fighters were hanging, they were later than your airstrike. Right, so there are lots of random timings that make small or make large differences, and it's hard to predict like which timing is good. You can't really theorize about that. And one more case is enemy aircraft carriers. So Hio and Junyo, they spawn in a pair together with a command ship, and they launch a huge mass of planes. So sometimes they launch a huge mass of planes, and it would be nice if your supporting fighters were on the screen when these enemy planes come out, instead of them being on cooldown, right? And also, this is kinda technical and unknown, like not studied well, but when fighters or any plane shoots their AA guns at an enemy plane, basically let me put a plane here. So basically this thing shoots the plane and spawns a circle here, and the circle has radius of 10, I believe. Units don't really matter actually. You can know the radius of your fleet anti-air, the dotted white line. So you can judge based on your AA guns. But anyways, 10 units, and all enemy planes in those 10 in that circle get hit. Which means that the more planes are in that circle, the more damage the airplane does. Your anti-air airplane does. So basically, it would be nice if right after the carrier duo launches their planes, your support fighter is in position to shoot while these enemy planes are bunched up in a circle. So deal damage to all of them at once, instead of letting the enemy airplanes go further and spread out more, like they spread out with random movement. And finally, just another factor of randomness is that when your airplanes go across the screen, they don't go in a straight line, right? They go like up and down zigzag. And that zigzag is random. Or like pretty random at least. And most airplanes, anti-air guns have range, angle and range of fire, so they can hit enemy planes that are in here, in this sector of, let's say, 80 degrees. So a lot of anti-air guns have 80 degrees and 36 range. So 36 range would actually be like bigger. So if the enemy airplane, or like if this whole thing is too high and there's an enemy airplane like down here, then it just doesn't get hit. So yeah, there are way too many random factors to for anyone to justify like using theoretical formulas to decide what's best. Although this chart is helpful, you can see that you can get a general idea of what fighters are good and what fighters are not. To the best of my knowledge, nobody has done any legit testing on which fighter is best for these Chapter 15 support carriers. So let me try to change that now. So let me go over what I'm going to be testing. So there are 3 airplanes, 3 fighters that are worth testing, and those are Skyrocket and Flapjack and Focke-Wulf. So Skyrocket and Flapjack have the highest intercept fire rate at 7.9 seconds. And Skyrocket has slightly better anti-air guns, while Flapjack has 20 more aviation and it flies slower. So plane speed, supposedly it lets the Flapjack stay on screen for longer and spend more time shooting airplanes. And then there's Focke-Wulf, which has 10 seconds intercept fire rate, which is slower, but it has the best AA guns of any fighter in the game, or any airplane in the game. So those 3 are what I'm testing, and first I'm going to go with like 6 Skyrockets, and then I'll test 6 Flapjacks, and then 6 Focke-Wulfs, and then after that, if I have time, I'll test some mix, like 1 Skyrocket and 1 Focke-Wulf on each carrier, or maybe 2 Skyrockets on 1 carrier and 2 Focke-Wulfs on another carrier. So I don't think it's worth testing Skyrocket and Flapjack mix, because the only difference between them is the plane speed, and I don't think that will make a large enough difference to warrant mixing them. So because they still have the same intercept rate of fire, so they'll launch at the same time but just like stay on screen for different times, so might as well just test Skyrocket purely or test Flapjack purely. And of course 15-4 on lethal. So the Musashi fleet is the testing fleet, so I'm going to use Musashi's HP remaining as the metric here. So she has double AA radar so that she can tank more planes and also decrease her own damage, because she has to stay above 40% HP in order for testing to remain valid. And so I tried to use a weaker fleet with like weaker tech and cats to test, but that would make like the whole thing too risky. Like if one Vanguard ship dies, then it messes up the whole testing run as well. So I need everyone to survive, and I need battles to end quickly enough so that Musashi doesn't fall below 40% HP, but I also don't want battles to end so quickly that this testing isn't applicable to I mean, I guess if you reach chapter 15 you're not a new player anymore, but I want this testing to be applicable to players with less tech or cats or gear. So air supremacy, and always double line for the Musashi fleet. So the start of the sortie has 2 supporting large enemy air formations, so I'll take those first with the Musashi fleet, and then I'll take a large reconnaissance fleet with the same testing fleet, and then the first boss spawns, so I take the first boss with the boss fleet, and then I'll take 2 more reconnaissance fleets with the testing fleet after that. So whether those reconnaissance fleets are medium or large, it depends on the map spawn RNG. And then finally I'll do the second boss with the testing fleet again. So I think the metrics will be Musashi's HP after the 2 supporting carrier fleets are finished, and then her HP again after the second boss has been defeated. Because for plain damage, there's only the first 2 supporting carrier fleets should be doing positive damage to Musashi. For reconnaissance fleets and the second boss, she should be healing when Aquila is in there. And for tech, I just leave everything at max because I do need the fleet to survive consistently. Except that I put 0 BB reload for Musashi so that she doesn't kill the carrier plate, the Hio and Junyo pair too early. So I want those carriers to launch their planes first before Musashi just deletes them. And for cats, we're going with double mountain with 20 AA for Musashi, increased survivability, because again I need her to stay above 40% HP. And Hamantu also helps with that, using flagship cover, but she kinda explodes a lot, so I need to put 2 survivability oxes on and leave Hedgehog to John. So yeah, let's talk about the gear. So double AA radar, usually you don't run this, but I want her to do less damage and survive for longer. And then just standard planes for the carriers and standard gear for everyone else. So for AA guns, I'm using 2 plus 10 golds and 2 plus 13 golds and 1 plus 13 rainbow. Which should be kind of reasonable. And the boss fleet doesn't matter, it's just that Bismarck has a cross fleet barrage at 18 seconds, somewhere here. Yeah. So, I don't know, it shouldn't affect too much. And no submarines, because submarines would end the battle earlier, and I don't want the battle to end too early. So I'll try to do like 5 sorties with each airplane setup, with each fighter setup. So let's get started with Skyrocket. And of course if I put everything in, then the video will be way too long. So I'll just show one run of each fighter setup and then show the conclusion. So here's 6 Skyrockets. Oh yeah, one thing I didn't explain was I put Oscar in command position so that she doesn't activate her skill and have an RNG chance to weaken an enemy fleet, because I want each sortie to be kinda consistent. I want the enemies to spawn at roughly the same time. I'll show the results and interpret them, and I'll put the sample runs at the end. So I ended up not doing the first boss, or even the second boss, because after the 2 large air support formations, basically Musashi hits her low point in HP, and then after that it just goes up and up until, like, even before the second boss fight, the whole fleet is at full HP already, so I can't really draw any conclusions there. So I'm only going to look at the fleet's HP after the first 2 mob battles, and ignore all the reconnaissance fleets and all the bosses. So the battle starts at 3 minutes, and then down at 1:59 and 1:39 time left, Aquila heals. So this is important because, well, let me explain these first. So end time 1 refers to the first mob battle. When did the first mob battle end? And of course end time 2 is when the second mob battle ended. So if the mob battle ended at 1:51, for example, Aquila healed Musashi at 1:59. If the battle ended at 1:36, then that means Aquila healed Musashi an extra time. It kind of balances out because the extra time is spent taking more damage from planes, but Aquila also heals by quite a significant amount. So these blue highlights might be a bit important, or maybe not, and the red highlights just mean that Aquila didn't even get to heal at 1:59 because the battle ended before. So I took pictures of the main fleet HP after the second mod battle, and then counted the number of pixels of HP that they lost. So basically start on the right side of the HP bar and then count pixels until reaching green. So when Aquila and Unicorn take damage, this is very bad, because we can't really convert their HP loss into HP that Musashi would have lost, because Musashi has a bunch of damage resistance and also different HP values. So I'm just going to call them really bad. Like 0 pixels lost is the best, and any pixel lost is bad, both for the test and for the fleet. So first is double skyrocket, or 6 skyrockets on 3 support carriers, and basically Musashi lost an average of 43 pixels, and Aquila and Unicorn got hit in 3 out of 5 battles. So 5 battles per setup is a really low sample size, but like testing these takes a long time. Each run takes 4 minutes for 2 battles. So if the results are close, then I'm not going to say like definitely which fighter setup is better or not. So with Skyrocket, the battles lasted until 1:47 on average, and they take quite a lot of damage. And for Focke-Wulf, the battles were shorter. Let me just show you how long the battle lasted. So basically for Skyrocket, it lasted until 1:47, and for every other fighter setup, the battle lasted around 1:55, 1:56, 1:54, and 1:54. So basically only this one was an outlier. And this means that more enemy airplanes get to do damage. But basically, if we look at skyrocket, double skyrocket here and double Focke-Wulf here, it seems like they're about the same. So Unicorn has less HP than Ocula, so even though she took more pixels of damage, it's probably about the same as this. And Musashi took the same. Now Flapjack, double Flapjack, it got a perfect score. So Ocula and Unicorn never got hit, and the lowest Musashi got was 44 pixels of damage taken, and on average she took very little damage, so you can see that on the pictures to the right as well. So compared to Skyrocket and Focke-Wulf, the double Flapjack setup was like insanely good. And then I did 2 more tests, so mixing Skyrocket with Focke-Wulf. So 1 of each plane on the 3 carriers, so 3 each. And this was really bad. It was even worse than Skyrocket alone or Focke-Wulf alone. So 48 pixels of damage taken with a lot more from Ocula and Unicorn. And I don't think it was because of these battles ending early, because if the battle ended early, then if the battle lasted longer, then Ocula would have healed 1 more time, but Ocula would have healed Musashi because she's lowest HP, which means that even if she healed Musashi, somehow Unicorn and Ocula already took damage before 2 minutes, so if the battle lasted until after the 2 minute remaining mark, even if Musashi was healed, these damage numbers would have remained here. So yeah, maybe like the numbers are actually worse than Skyrocket alone or Focke-Wulf alone, but I'm not going to say that like it's by a large amount. And Flapjack plus Focke-Wulf, Musashi took slightly more damage, but Ocula and Unicorn took a lot less damage. But again, these results are still pretty close to the other setups, and the only one that stands out to me as definitely good is Flapjack. So like 6 Flapjacks on the support fleet.